Welcome to Total Power's Safety Leadership Program. Thank you for taking the time to participate in this training. Today, we'll be focusing on one of the most important responsibilities within our organization, leadership and safety. Whether you're a branch manager, service manager, field supervisor, lead technician, or anyone who directs the work of others, you play a critical role in protecting our employees, our customers, and our company. This course isn't just about understanding legal responsibilities or company procedures. It's about developing the mindset and leadership behaviors that help prevent incidents before they happen. Every decision you make, every conversation you have, and every action you take has the potential to influence the safety of those around you. Throughout this module, we'll discuss what effective safety leadership looks like, the responsibilities of a supervisor, and how your involvement directly contributes to a strong safety culture. Let's get started. Many people believe that workplace safety is the responsibility of the corporate health and safety department. It isn't. Health and safety starts with leadership. The corporate health and safety team develops standards, policies, and programs, but those programs only become effective when supervisors apply them every day. The way you conduct a toolbox meeting, respond to a hazard, coach an employee, or investigate an incident shapes the safety culture of your team. Employees don't simply listen to supervisors. They watch them. They notice what you inspect. They notice what you ignore. They notice what you praise. Most importantly, they notice what you are willing to stop. Your actions become the standard your team follows. That is why supervisors are one of the most important components of Total Power's health and safety management system. By the end of this module, you'll understand the responsibilities that come with supervising others. We'll discuss what makes someone a supervisor, the legal responsibilities associated with that role, and how those responsibilities fit within Total Power's health and safety management system. You'll also learn about due diligence, stop work authority, and the internal responsibility system, three concepts that form the foundation of workplace safety throughout Canada. These topics are more than regulatory requirements. They are practical leadership tools that will help you make better decisions and protect your team. Many people assume that supervision is determined by a job title. In reality, it's determined by responsibility. If you assign work, direct employees, oversee contractors, approve work activities, or make decisions affecting worker safety, you are acting as a supervisor. At Total Power, supervisors may include branch managers, service managers, fuel supervisors, lead technicians, warehouse leads, and others responsible for directing work. Supervisors bridge the gap between company expectations and field execution. Policies don't keep people safe. People do. Your role is to ensure that employees understand the work, recognize the hazards, follow established procedures, and have the resources necessary to complete their tasks safely. Leadership begins long before work starts. One of the biggest differences between a manager and a leader is influence. Managers organize work. Leaders influence behavior. Employees are far more likely to imitate what they see than what they hear. If a supervisor skips a field-level hazard assessment, workers may believe it's optional. If a supervisor ignores damaged equipment, workers may assume it's acceptable. If a supervisor consistently follows procedures, wears the required personal protective equipment, and takes the time to coach employees, those behaviors quickly become part of the team's culture. Every interaction is an opportunity to influence someone positively. As a supervisor, your goal isn't simply to complete today's work. Your goal is to ensure today's work is completed safely, professionally, and in a way that protects people, equipment, property, and our customers. That is what leadership looks like at Total Power. Before we talk about your responsibilities as a supervisor, it's important to understand the role of the employer. At Total Power, the employer is responsible for providing a workplace where employees can perform their work safely. That responsibility begins long before anyone arrives at a job site. The company develops policies, standards, procedures, and safe work practices. It provides the training, equipment, tools, and personal protective equipment employees need to perform their work safely. The company also invests in emergency response planning, inspections, hazard assessments, competency development, and continuous improvement of our health and safety management system. However, simply having policies and procedures doesn't make a workplace safe. Someone must ensure those expectations are carried out every day. That's where supervisors become critical. Think of it this way. Corporate health and safety builds the safety program. Supervisors bring it to life. Every morning, every job site, every service call, every warehouse, every branch. As a supervisor, you're responsible for taking those company expectations and turning them into safe work practices that employees follow. Without strong supervision, even the best safety program becomes nothing more than a binder on a As a supervisor, your responsibilities extend far beyond assigning work. You are responsible for ensuring employees understand the work they are about to perform. That includes identifying hazards, reviewing procedures, confirming competency, ensuring the correct tools and equipment are available, and verifying that appropriate personal protective equipment is being used. Throughout the day, you're expected to monitor work, correct unsafe behaviors, coach employees, and respond quickly when conditions change. If an employee identifies a hazard, it's your responsibility to ensure it's addressed. If equipment is defective, you must remove it from service. If an employee isn't competent to perform a task independently, you must provide additional training or supervision before allowing the work to continue. Supervisors also play an important role after work is completed. You participate in inspections, incident investigations, competency assessments, emergency response, and continuous improvement. Every action you take contributes to creating a safer workplace. Safety isn't the supervisor's responsibility alone. Every worker has responsibilities as well. Employees are expected to work safely, follow company procedures, wear the required personal protective equipment, complete field-level hazard assessments, report hazards, report incidents and near misses, and participate in safety meetings and training. Workers also have the responsibility to refuse work they believe is unsafe when exercised in accordance with applicable legislation. One of the most important responsibilities employees have is communication. Supervisors can't correct hazards they don't know about. Encourage your employees to speak up. Thank them for reporting hazards. Never discourage reporting because it takes time or interrupts production. Every hazard reported today may prevent an injury tomorrow. Contractors are an important part of Total Power's operations. Although contractors may work for another company, they're expected to follow Total Power's health and safety requirements whenever they perform work on our behalf or at our workplaces. Before work begins, contractors must receive the appropriate orientation, understand the hazards associated with the work, comply with our policies and procedures, and use the required personal protective equipment. As a supervisor, you are responsible for ensuring contractors understand these expectations. Don't assume they know your procedures simply because they're experienced. Every workplace is different. Every customer site is different. Taking a few minutes to review expectations before work begins can prevent serious incidents later. One of the most important concepts in occupational health and safety is the Internal Responsibility System, often referred to as the IRS. The Internal Responsibility System recognizes that everyone in the workplace shares responsibility for health and safety. Employers provide leadership and resources. Supervisors direct work safely. Workers perform work safely. Health and safety representatives and joint health and safety committees identify opportunities for improvement. No single individual owns workplace safety. Instead, safety is achieved when everyone understands and fulfills their responsibilities. As a supervisor, you are the connection between management and the workforce. Your leadership helps ensure the internal responsibility system functions effectively every day. One phrase you'll hear throughout your career as a supervisor is due diligence. But what does it really mean? Due diligence means taking every reasonable precaution to protect workers from injury or illness. Notice the words reasonable precaution. Due diligence doesn't mean eliminating every possible risk, but it does mean three factors: foreseeability, preventability, and control. For supervisors, due diligence includes activities such as conducting workplace inspections, reviewing field-level hazard assessments, ensuring employees are trained and competent, enforcing safe work procedures, correcting unsafe conditions, investigating incidents, documenting the actions you've taken. One of the most important parts of due diligence is documentation. If something isn't documented, it's very difficult to demonstrate that it occurred. Remember, you don't document activities because you're expecting an incident. You document them because they demonstrate your commitment to protecting workers. Let's look at what due diligence looks like during a typical day at Total Power. Imagine you're arriving at a customer site to perform a scheduled generator maintenance. Before any tools come out, your technician completes a field-level hazard assessment. You review the hazards together. The technician identifies overhead power lines, vehicle traffic, uneven ground, and hot weather. Together, you discuss the controls, traffic cones, high-visibility clothing, hydration, proper lifting techniques. Everything looks good. During the work, you notice the technician reaching for a damaged extension cord. Instead of ignoring it, you stop the work. You remove the cord from service. A replacement is obtained. The damaged cord is tagged out and reported. Those few minutes prevented a potential electrical incident. That is due diligence. Not because paperwork was completed, because leadership prevented someone from getting hurt. Now let's look at the consequences when due diligence isn't exercised. Unfortunately, many workplace incidents don't happen because people intended to take shortcuts. They happen because someone assumed everything was okay. Perhaps the inspection was skipped. Perhaps a procedure wasn't followed. Perhaps an employee wasn't properly trained. Or perhaps a supervisor noticed something unsafe and planned to deal with it later. As supervisors, we have to recognize that small decisions often lead to large consequences. Ignoring a loose handrail today may lead to a fall tomorrow. Ignoring damaged lifting equipment may lead to a serious injury next week. Ignoring an employee's concern may prevent them from reporting the next hazard they discover. Supervisors influence safety by acting early. Correcting hazards immediately is always easier than investigating an incident afterward. So how do we know when we need to intervene? That's where stop work authority becomes one of the most powerful leadership tools available. Every employee at Total Power has the authority and the responsibility to stop work when they believe an activity presents an immediate danger to themselves, another worker, equipment, property, or the environment. This authority applies to workers. It applies to supervisors. It applies to managers. It applies to contractors working under Total Power's direction. As a supervisor, you should never discourage someone from stopping work in good faith. Instead, thank them. Investigate the concern. Determine whether additional controls are required. Sometimes the work can continue after hazards are addressed. Sometimes it cannot. Stopping work should never be viewed as failure. It is evidence that our safety system is working exactly as intended. Employees who feel comfortable speaking up are one of the strongest indicators of a positive safety culture. Remember, production can always be recovered. A life cannot. Let's look at a supervisor scenario. Working at Heights, customer rooftop generator. Last week, a Total Power technician attended a new customer site to perform scheduled maintenance on a rooftop generator. During the site assessment, the technician identified several concerns. The generator is installed close to the roof edge. Roof access is only available using a 26-foot extension ladder. No permanent roof anchor points are installed. Oil and fluid changes require access using a scissor lift. The controller is located less than 1.2 meters from the roof edge. Question as the supervisor: what would you do next? Imagine receiving this phone call from one of your technicians. The work has not yet started. No one has been exposed to danger. The technician has stopped and contacted you before proceeding. This is exactly the type of situation where supervisors make a difference. Take a few moments to consider your response. Would you tell the technician to continue? Would you rely on the worker's fall arrest equipment? Or would you stop the work until additional controls are established? Think about your answer before moving on. Before making a decision, supervisors must identify the hazards. Several significant hazards exist at this location. The first is fall exposure. The generator and controller are both located close to the roof edge. The second is the absence of approved anchor points. While the technician has a harness available, a harness alone does not provide fall protection unless it is connected to a suitable anchor. The third concern involves roof access. A 26-foot extension ladder introduces additional risks associated with climbing, carrying tools, and transitioning onto the roof. Finally, servicing the generator requires a scissor lift for oil and fluid changes, introducing another set of hazards that must be planned and controlled. The technician made the correct decision by stopping work and contacting supervision. The correct response is to stop the work until suitable controls have been established. As the supervisor, your responsibility is not to find a quick workaround. Your responsibility is to ensure the work can be completed safely. The next step is to contact the customer and explain the safety concerns identified during the site assessment. Possible control measures may include installing temporary or permanent guardrails, providing engineered anchor points, modifying access arrangements, or changing the work method entirely. Remember the hierarchy of controls. Personal protective equipment should never be your first or only solution. Engineering controls such as guardrails or permanent anchor systems provide a much higher level of protection. The work should only resume once the hazards have been adequately controlled and documented. Imagine if the supervisor had simply told the technician to be careful. If a fall occurred, investigators would ask several questions. Was the hazard identified? Yes. Was the supervisor informed? Yes. Were reasonable precautions taken before directing the work to continue? That is where due diligence is measured. Good supervisors never place production ahead of worker safety. By supporting the technician's decision to stop work, the supervisor demonstrated leadership, reinforced the company's safety culture, and protected both the employee and total power. Sometimes the safest decision is to delay the work until it can be performed properly. That is leadership. This scenario demonstrates several important leadership principles. Employees should never feel pressured to continue work when hazards cannot be adequately controlled. As a supervisor, your role is to remove barriers, identify appropriate controls, and ensure work is completed safely, not simply completed quickly. The best supervisors encourage employees to stop and ask questions whenever they are uncertain. That behavior strengthens our safety culture and prevents incidents before they occur. As you move through the remainder of this course, you'll continue to develop the leadership skills needed to make these decisions confidently and consistently throughout your career at Total Power. Now let's look at what effective supervisors do every day, not only during emergencies, but as part of their normal routine. The best supervisors rarely wait for incidents to occur before taking action. Instead, they focus on preventing incidents through consistent leadership. Every day begins with planning. They review the work schedule, discuss hazards with employees, confirm the necessary equipment is available, and ensure workers understand the task. Throughout the day they observe work, ask questions, recognize safe behaviors, and correct unsafe conditions before they become incidents. At the end of the day they review what went well, what could be improved, and what needs to be communicated to the team. Great supervisors don't manage paperwork. They manage people. And by managing people well, they improve safety, productivity, and quality. Every supervisor leaves a legacy. Some leave a legacy of shortcuts. Some leave a legacy of fear. Some leave a legacy of paperwork. The supervisors people remember are the ones who cared. They coached rather than criticized. They listened before making decisions. They corrected unsafe behaviors respectfully. They treated every employee with dignity and professionalism. Most importantly, they helped people return home safely to their families every day. Your leadership is measured not only by the work completed, but by how your team performs when you're not standing beside them. That is the true measure of leadership. Congratulations! You've completed Module 1 of the Total Power University Supervisor Leadership Essentials program. Today we established the foundation for effective supervision. You learned that supervisors are leaders, coaches, mentors, and decision makers. You explored due diligence, legal responsibilities, the internal responsibility system, and the importance of supporting employees when they identify hazards. These concepts will form the basis for everything you'll learn throughout the remainder of this program. Leadership is not about authority. Leadership is about influence. And influence begins with every decision you make. Before continuing to Module 2, you'll complete a short knowledge assessment covering the concepts discussed in this module. The quiz consists of 10 multiple-choice questions. A passing grade of 80% is required before moving to the next module. If you don't achieve 80% on your first attempt, don't worry. Review the material and try again. The objective isn't simply to pass the quiz. It's to ensure you understand the responsibilities that come with supervising others. Once you've successfully completed the assessment, we'll move into Module 2, where we'll explore occupational health and safety legislation, due diligence, and the legal responsibilities of supervisors across Canada and the United States. Thank you for your participation, and we'll see you in the next module.